Good evening, my fellow Minute Maniacs, and welcome into UMass Sports Weekly, your number one source for all things UMass sports. I'm your host, Tommy Clutie, and we have a lot on tap to get to today, so we're going to jump right in. Last Thursday, after Pat Kelsey was actually left his duties at UMass, citing personal reasons, UMass was left reeling looking for another basketball coach. Less than a week ago, they found it. His name is Matt McCall. We have a package from the press conference, and Liam and I are going to come on to discuss what this means for the university. After that, Liam's going to stay on. We're going to talk about the baseball team, who recently had a 3-game series against Morehead State. 2 one-run games, and then another that was decided by 22 runs. We're going to let you guess which way that game went. Spoiler alert, did not go well. After that, Phil Sanzo rejoins us after a small hiatus he took to talk about the women's lacrosse team and their current win streak. And then to finish off the show, like usual, John Anderson's going to come in and talk about the men's lacrosse team and their big win in CAA play. We're really excited. It's going to be a great show. And Victor Cruz, he's waiting for all of you. Tony Romo isn't, though, because he retired. This is UMass Sports Weekly.
This is UMass Sports Weekly.
And welcome back in. Now, as I alluded to in the intro, UMass has a new men's basketball coach. His name is Matt McCall. Byrne and I were at the introductory press conference, and we're here with the story. UMass men's basketball team has found a new head coach, and his name is Matt McCall.
I am so appreciative, I'm humbled, and extremely honored to be the basketball coach of this great university, and to have the opportunity to work with and impact these young men every single day. It's truly a blessing and an honor, and I can't be more excited about this opportunity as we embark on this journey going forward.
McCall knows there's a long road ahead, but he also knows that the first step is getting the trust of his players.
I think just the biggest thing right now for us, me especially, is just getting to know each other. I think this thing's about trust. It's about investing in each and every one of them. And if they have to trust me just as much as I trust them when it comes to being out on the floor, whether it's guarding a pick and roll the right way with the game on the line, or executing a pick and roll the right way with the game on the line. It's all about trust. So that's where we'll start.
It's been a difficult few weeks for the Minutemen, but C.J. Anderson and company are just happy that they have their new coach.
Man, it feels good. You ask me, it's been a long time coming. That's what I say to the guys. It's been a rough 3 weeks. But now, we actually have everything established now, and it seems like everything should be fine, you ask me.
McCall knows the Minutemen have a lot of talent, and he's excited just to get out there on the court.
I think they got a terrific front court. I think one of the best front courts in the league, to be honest with you. A lot of talent up front and different talent. Guys that can play with their back to the basket, runners, jumpers, athletes, which gives you a big advantage. Terrific guard play. I'm just excited. Obviously, I'll know a lot more once we get on the floor and get to work. But from top to bottom, a really talented roster.
The players have done their research, and they think that McCall can lead them to great places.
Like I said, I got 3 friends that played for him at UT Tad, another guy that played for him at Florida. All of them are good things, so if they said, I'm with it. So it's thumbs up for me.
Made me feel like there's going to be a lot of winning happening, a lot of winning. Even if we don't win a championship, we're going to win. We're going to have a good record. And, like he said, we're going to get better as players every day, and when the end result happens, that's what it's going to be. And I'm pretty sure that, we'll be cutting down nets.
So, Minute Maniacs, now we have our coach, we have our season ready to go, and we can focus on the basketball. I'm going to bring in Byrne, who joined me at the press conference and has also helped me with reporting on this. So, Liam, first thing I want to talk about, with Coach McCall, you have somebody who worked with Billy Donovan. He won 2 national titles as an assistant at Florida, spent 2 years at Chattanooga. What were your first impressions of him?
Well, my first impressions were definitely that he has a winning tradition in his coaching style and who he's been with. And especially only being in Chattanooga for a couple seasons, he definitely put in a winning atmosphere at that school, making it to the NCAA tournament and winning lots of games. So I feel like during the press conference, he brought out a really positive attitude towards what UMass really needs going forward in this with their program. You know, after all the turmoil that they went through in March, after firing Kellogg, getting a brand new coach in Pat Kelsey, him dropping out. And it was just a lot for these players and the UMass basketball community to deal with in this long month, and especially after a tough, grueling season in the A-10 conference after such a hyped-up season based off of the recruiting class that Kellogg brought in. So I really appreciated McCall's positivity during the conference and how he handled himself, and he just seems like, all coaching aspects aside, he just seems like a very humble person and very nice guy that would fit in here in Amherst with the athletic department and just with this program in general.
So we have a graphic to show with some of the statistics of Coach McCall and what he's done over his career so far. Like I said, 2 years he spent with Billy Donovan. He spent several years with Billy Donovan, 2 of which he was a national champion as an assistant. His team made an NCAA tournament appearance in 2016. They were the Southern Conference champions in 2016, 48-18 record over 2 years. This coach, there's a lot of potential. He took a Chattanooga program that was borderline irrelevant and made them into something, so we're very excited. And as Ryan Bamford said, let's answer the McCall. And
the whole marketing team for UMass Athletics.
Hopefully the Minutemen have found their guy for a long time coming. Now I want to change gears a little bit. We have good news in basketball. Baseball is a different story. So, like I said in the intro, UMass is a 3-game set against Moorhead. They dropped all 3 games.
Yeah,
now,
unfortunately.
2 games, very hard-fought battles. Another game we're going to talk about. So, Liam, give us a little more in-depth. Give us a breakdown of this 3-game set against Moorhead State.
It was tough to watch this past weekend over when I was getting all the notifications on Twitter. First game lost 7-6. Now UMass got up to a 5-0 lead in the second inning, so a very early start for UMass. But in the fourth, the lead was brought down to 6-2. So Moorhead State then came back to win the game in the bottom of the 9th inning on a walk-off. Now a bases clearing double and a 2-run home run did it for Moorhead State to give them the 7-6 victory over UMass. Now in game 2 the day after on Saturday was a 6-5 loss. Now this one went into extra innings. So these two wanted to play longer than they needed to. They led 5-1 again, UMass. And at the end of the 5th, Moorhead State came back and scored 5 unanswered runs to get the victory in 10 innings. Now, Brooks Napek, I talked about him last week, the freshman pitcher who is a standout on this team, lefty. He struck out 9 guys in this game. He had a stellar performance in 7 innings and left him with a no decision because the bullpen for UMass came in and didn't do the job for Napek and the Minutemen. Kevin Hassett, who was the junior in relief, came in and gave up 2 runs, 2 hits, and 2 walks. Now, on the offensive side, UMass, they had 12 hits in this game. Now, you would think that would help a team get over a loss or just a tough, what am I trying to say?
A tough game.
A tough game, yes, exactly, a tough game. But it didn't. The 12 hits was nothing. So this one was the doozy, Tommy. This one was truly the doozy.
Yeah.
Game 3 on Sunday. Now, my question was, did they try and play baseball and then a football game broke out?
What do you mean by that?
Well, the score was 22-0. That's 3 touchdowns.
Well,
right
22-0 in whose favor?
Moorhead State.
That's tough.
Yeah. Moorhead State beat UMass 22-0.
I was going to say, just to interject, for all you Red Sox fans out there, it seems like Brooks Napek's performance, much like Rick Porcello in Game 1.
Yeah.
6 strong innings, and then Matt Barnes decides to come in and do what he does best.
Draw the same comparison.
String hits together. So, or get hits strung together against him.
Yeah.
So 22-0, Liam. I don't know if you had anything else to say, but I really don't think there is much to say.
I can say a little more about it.
Say a little more then.
Yeah, I mean, the write-up on UMass Athletics was very, very short, but I can give a little insight as well. So this game didn't look so bad from the start. Moorhead State recorded 6 in the 4th, but when the 6th inning rolled around, they just piled on UMass with 11 runs and didn't look back from there. The starting pitcher for UMass, senior Mike Gianellis, who's 2-3 on the season, allowed 7 runs in 13 hits in 5 innings. Now, Morehead State had 28 hits against UMass. 28 hits where UMass only had 5. Now, the problem I see with this is that UMass, Coach Mike Stone definitely kept in Gianellis for a little too long. And they just were unable to produce. I mean, they produced in the last 2 games, and I don't understand why in Game 3 they were not able to produce a single run against 22 runs to Morehead State. Now, I think it helped that they scored 28, or they hit 28 hits. But 5 hits in a full game at a college level D1, it's tough.
You have to think with Gianellis, perhaps because of the overtime game, Coach Stone needs to rest the bullpen. Maybe he just leaves him in. But when a pitcher's going like that after 5 innings, I mean, it's tough to leave him in at that point. So we had this terrible loss, 22-0. Also, you get swept after you built a little bit of momentum at the beginning of A-10 play against George Washington. Can UMass bounce back, and how are they going to be able to do it?
It's definitely still early, but it is funny, though, that despite this sweep of the series, that UMass is still 2-1 in the A-10 conference. And their next 2 games are non-conference. Tonight, UMass was supposed to play Siena in a non-conference game out in Troy, New York, but the game got postponed due to weather. Now, tomorrow, UMass takes on Harvard in the annual Beanpot game at Harvard. Harvard is 10-12 this season and 0-4 in their conference in the Ivy League. Now, it seems like a decent win for UMass if they can pull it off, but they haven't done well against the Massachusetts baseball teams for sure. As you know, they got beaten pretty bad by BC last week. So after that, this upcoming weekend, VCU comes to Lorden Field, and VCU is a very good team in this A-10 conference. So it's going to be a tough one, especially after this past weekend. But I think UMass will be able to bounce back in just fixing the little things as far as their pitching goes and just getting the ball in play. To be honest with you, I mean, you have a lot of young talent on this team, and to utilize that, you definitely just have to put the right people in the right places.
Put the ball in play and don't put runners on base. That's usually key in baseball.
Basics
Hopefully
of baseball.
somebody other than Brooks Napeck can throw a semi-solid game and get them, into the game for about 7 innings.
Exactly.
Thanks very much, Liam. We're about to go to break, but don't touch that dial because Liam Byrne has a package for us on the month of March and what it's been like to be a Minuteman fan. Stay tuned and watch it.
A tough month of March for the UMass basketball program, as the 2016-2017 season wasn't all that it was hyped up to be. Former head coach Derek Kellogg brought in a top 25 recruiting class that just couldn't get the job done in the A-10 conference. Just a few hours after their second round loss in the conference tournament, UMass athletic director Ryan Bamford fired Derek Kellogg after 9 seasons here at UMass.
After Kellogg was fired, a lawsuit came to public attention regarding former player and assistant coach Lou Rowe. 3 other current and former staff members are involved in this case, including Kellogg. The plaintiff, Ayanna Hickman, claims that the staff members deprived her of her civil rights and falsely imprisoned her. Hickman was in a romantic relationship with Rowe, and she is seeking $75,000 in damages. Ryan Bamford stated that Kellogg's firing had no connection with the lawsuit, even though Kellogg allegedly played a role in covering up the situation.
But I told our young men, that we're going to find a great leader. And that, honestly, I told them this was on me. As a leader of this organization, this is on me.
To continue the off-season woes for UMass basketball, on March 21st, just 2 weeks after the firing of Derek Kellogg, Bamford hired Winthrop University head coach Pat Kelsey. Unfortunately, Kelsey backed out of his position at UMass just minutes before he was going to be introduced at a press conference here on campus. He says that the reason behind backing out was for personal reasons, and that he will go back to Winthrop and serve as their head coach for his 6th season.
After the roller coaster ride we call UMass basketball, Ryan Bamford finally picked the leader of this program, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga head coach Matt McCall. McCall was on campus on Tuesday to finalize a 5-year deal, making him the next UMass basketball head coach. McCall, only 35 years old, led the Mocs to a 48-18 record in his 2 seasons. Before being at Chattanooga, he was at the University of Florida as an assistant under the direction of Billy Donovan. Reporting for UMass Sports Weekly, I'm Liam Byrne, UVC TV 19.
We hope you enjoyed that brief video pack, or substantial video package. Very good work from our very own Liam Byrne. Now we're going to move on to the women's lacrosse team, who are doing very well this season after starting off 1-3. They're now 7-3, and they are trucking along in a very nice way. So I'm going to bring in Phil Sanzo, who's been covering this team. So Phil, we had 2 games this weekend, VCU and Richmond.
Yep.
Give us a little bit of a breakdown.
Well, they won both. So, yeah, going on that 1-3 record, they won 6 straight. So they've won both those games against VCU and St. Joseph's. VCU is 19-8, and St. Joseph's 24-14. So they were not close. Both games were pretty much over by the second half. VCU, the men and women had led 14-6, and St. Joseph was much of the same, 13-6. Main story, though, is Hannah Burnett. She scored a lot of goals. 8 goals against St. Joseph's in one game. At one point, it was Hannah Burnett 7, St. Joseph's 5. So wrapping my around that, I mean, the men and women have always scored goals well, as we've noticed from following this team a few years now. They never have a problem beating these A10 teams, and much of the same to expect this season.
So going off of Hannah Burnett, I mean, she's been definitely a member of the team for a year or two now, but this is the first year she's really started to come into her own. She put up 8 goals this weekend against St. Joe's alone. Yeah. What type of impact has she had on this team, and what type of impact can she continue to have as the season goes along?
Well, this week she had scored 4 goals against VCU, and then 8 goals against St. Joseph's.
That's 12 in 2 games.
12 in 2 games.
6 per game.
And she had 5 assists, a total of 17 points, good enough to owe her a Atlantic 10 Player of the Week this week.
Congratulations to Miss Burnett.
I will not be surprised if this isn't her. There aren't more to come after this. No, she has a big part of this offensive team that, I mean, really, as you can see, is an offensive-heavy team. I mean, against St. Joseph's, they had 2 other people score 4 goals, Holly Turner and Callie Santos. So going forward, I mean, it was going to be. I think we're going to see much of the same. She's also 30 total goals. I think that's the 3rd most right now in the A10.
30 goals, maybe a quarter of the way through the season.
Right.
The record was, I believe, Nicole Troost last year.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm dating myself. Sorry about this, but she had over 60. So if Hannah Burnett keeps on this pace, she could have a legendary year. So good luck to her and the rest of the Minutewomen. Now, Phil, we have a game against Davidson coming up April 7th. They're not much of usually just a little bit of a speed bump, not much of a team. Richmond is usually the team that seems to give every UMass team trouble in the A10.
They always do.
Tell us a little bit about this Richmond team.
Well, Richmond's up there also. They are also 2-0 in the conference, much like the Minutewomen. And Richmond, I mean, the biggest person on that team that you're going to have to watch out for if you're the Minutewomen is going to be Natalia Cheney. She has 32 goals. That leads the A10. So they're going to have a strong defensive game, the Minutewomen. Minutewomen lost a lot of their defensive players from a year ago, so that's something they're going to have to hopefully piece together. If they can beat Richmond, it's just another speed bump that they can get over. Richmond's also 2-0, and Davidson, they're 1-1. It'll be a challenge, but I wouldn't say too much for the Minutewomen.
I would like to correct myself. I apologize. It was Erica Ipe with 42 goals. So apologize, Erica. Please forgive me for that one. But 42 goals in 22 games. They've played, 10 games thus far?
Yep.
And she already has 30, so this could be a very special season.
She's pretty good.
She's pretty good, yeah. It could be a special season for Hannah Murphy. Thanks a lot, Phil. Make sure you get out and support the Minutewomen in both of those games this weekend. Don't touch that dial, though, because when we come right back, John Anderson's going to come on and talk about the men's lacrosse team and their big win. Stay tuned. The UMass men's lacrosse team opened up CAA play this week against Delaware, the team who recently beat former #1 in the country, Rutgers. Now, I'm here with John Anderson. John, obviously every CAA game is tough. This league gets very competitive, but especially against Delaware, the way they
Drexel. Those games are
not
tough.
Drexel, no. The Dragons, not much firepower.
They're not
there,
real.
surprisingly. But with Delaware, a team that has really come out of nowhere as a powerhouse in the conference, how did this game go?
Well, Tommy, if we look to my wonderful stat sheet that we like to bring up every week, you can see exactly how this game went. And for UMass, you can see UMass comes out on top 9-6. Not really, kind of a smaller deficit than you would have thought. And evidently, it's all defense, and it's the transition game for UMass is how UMass pulls this one out. And you look down towards the bottom of that list there. Clears. Delaware was 13 for 19. That means UMass's defensive middies and LSMs are causing turnovers in the transition game, whereas for UMass, that is a strong point for them. They're 9 for 9. Delaware's man up went 0 for 2, which is, for a team like Delaware, when they defeated Rutgers, their top midi line, Will Hirschman, Steve DeLargy, and Trooper Ortlieb, all three of them had hat tricks in the game. That's a hat trick of hat tricks. We call it hat trickception.
Those three are real troopers.
Yeah, they're real troopers. Yeah, I see what you're doing with that.
Yeah, of course you do.
And then you look to the ground balls, and it's 39 to 16.
Minutemen are putting in the dirty work.
Bring it back here, and you can see that it was just really leaned to one side of the field on that one. And so I mentioned the face-offs. Turnovers. UMass forces a lot of turnovers against Delaware, 16 to 16, but that's not really a matchup that you look at and you're like, oh, well, let's compare the turnovers and see if they had the same amount or more. It's like, no. You just don't do it. Just don't do it a lot. Just don't turn the ball over. And both teams kind of had issues with it in the game, but for Delaware, a team who defensively is middle of the field, offensively was really their forte, to shut them down, and weather was a factor. Weather was absolutely a factor in this game. It had been snowing the night before and all morning. I was actually driving back from the mayor's show in Albany the night before, so there was about 2 inches of wet snow on the ground, and then they do manage to clear Garber Field. And it was raining before the game, but by the time the game started, it really stopped. But you could tell both teams that the pockets were getting really wet on their sticks. Balls were flying everywhere.
Half of my heart had the right mind to cancel that game. John Mayer quote. Thank you, everybody. So, John, UMass's defense has been a strong suit for them this season. They've been holding teams usually to in and around between 8 and 11 goals, especially when they've played a higher level of competition. Offensively, though, 9 goals is right about where they are, or right about where they've been this season. Was there any room to improve in this game, or was 9 right where they should have been regarding goals?
Well, I mentioned a little bit the weather, and it was definitely the beginning of the game that UMass was turning the ball over a lot. They had about 4 offensive possessions in the first quarter, 4 in a row that ended in passes that either sailed over someone's head or
the dreaded parking lot pass,
or also the type of passes, the shots that I like to call turnover shots that are just right into the goalie's chest with not much steam on them. That's basically the same thing as a turnover. It doesn't go on the stat sheet as one, but you might as well count it as one. Take that away from the goals column and into the turnovers column. But so there were a lot of that for UMass. And again, UMass is shooting, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, how efficient they are shooting. Not really in this game, not really last week either, or a couple of weeks ago rather. They almost missed about 50% of their shots in the net. And most of this, and I know I like to explain how defenders can force shots to miss and stuff like that. That was not the case this game. It was a lot of shots sailing over the net, wide of the net,
that poor
under
parking
the net.
lot.
No, not under the net, because there would have to be a hole there. It's AstroTurf. There's some concrete there. That'd be pretty hard. Couple shots going to China, stuff like that. But as far as spreading the wealth, though, 9 different scorers for you, or 9 different point scorers, not necessarily goal scorers. And Tyler Bogart didn't even have the biggest day. The biggest day would have to go to Jeff Traynor and Grant Consoletti. Traynor, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, and Consoletti, 1 goal, 3 assists, and 4 points on the day. And a little attackman by the name of Peter Long, actually, or Jason Long, excuse me, actually gets the first goal of the game for either team. It was a bit of a stalemate at the beginning of the game, or first goal for UMass, rather. But UMass was down most of the game, so by the time you get into the third quarter, they're still down. Even the fourth quarter, they were still down. But then UMass goes on a 4-goal run in the last 12-ish minutes of the game or so to come away with the victory. Jeff Traynor actually credited with the game-winning goal. And like I said, they shut down Will Hirschman, Steve DeLargy, and Trooper Ortlieb, 3 big names that they're able to shut down. But look to the offensive side. If they can limit the turnovers, then going up next week against a team like Towson, which is what we're about to get to in a second, won't be as tough as a matchup.
Yeah, also, I know for a fact Jeff Traynor was named the UMass Athletics Player of the Week, or Co-Player of the Week with Hannah Murphy, so congratulations to him. Now, John, we've talked about this team is good on defense. They're at about 9 goals a game, so we pretty much, we're at the point where we know what kind of team we're getting day in and day out on that field. So with the rest of CAA play coming up, and basically wins in all of them, important, almost necessary to secure an NCAA bid, how do you see the rest of the season boding for this team?
Well, like I said, they've got Towson coming up next week, but Towson, historically, especially the last couple seasons and in UMass games, very, very strong defensive team, and that once again is the case this year. Towson's 5-3 on the season. They've got big wins over teams like Ohio State and Johns Hopkins. So they're going into games with matched opponents, and they're not letting up a lot of goals. The only games that they're letting up more than 10 or more goals are against teams like Yale, that are very good teams, which Yale, a team UMass has already defeated. So transitive property, Tommy, as we love to use in this show.
We do love
UMass
math.
has defeated Yale. Towson has defeated Yale, or Towson has lost to Yale. Therefore, UMass must beat Towson. You'd like to think that's the way it works, but I mean, they just beat Delaware, who defeated the number 1 team in the country last year. UMass defeated UNC, who went on to win the national championship.
Which means UMass was the best team in the country last year.
Exactly. So Towson, this is the big matchup for Towson because UMass only really needs to get 2. You want 3 to be safe, but it's 2 years ago they only won 2 CAA games and they made the tournament. But Fairfield and Drexel are on the DL this season, so I think those are wins for UMass. Fairfield next week. Towson this weekend, Fairfield next week, Drexel at the end of the season, Friday night game at Garber Field. So UMass should easily be able to get to 3 wins. But if they really want to test themselves and see what they can do in the CAA tournament, you see how they play against Towson this week. And Hofstra, I hate to say it, Hofstra's 9-0. They're the number 3 team in the country. Probably not going to win that game. However, it's a good test because they're going to have to get through Hofstra if they want to get to the tournament because only 1 team comes out of the CAA every year. It's not like all the Ivy League schools where 1 team wins the league and then all of them make it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, it is a tough road ahead, but if your predictions are right, Fairfield and Drexel should punch the ticket for the Minutemen to the NCAA tournament, which would be
the CAA tournament.
Or to the CAA tournament.
Yep.
Punch their ticket to a playing game against Hofstra, which, although challenging, would definitely be fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, John. Unfortunately, that's going to do it for us this week here at UMass Sports Weekly. Like I tell you every week, we're the top sports news organization here on campus. You follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. I'm telling you, all the information you can find is just going to funnel right in here. It's great. We're going to be right back here at 7:30 next Tuesday. Make sure to look at all our social media sites. Have a great week, UMass. Peace out.
Oh, cool. I thought we got booted.
Good show. A doorknob. Good show.
Next live.